So as we're getting started on today's run-through, you're all surrounded by these orc partiers. And I'm going to go ahead and unpause the game here. As you're all having yourselves a wonderful time, I am going to change my normal settings on the map, so there's going to be no major restrictions on your vision here. Except, things in the way. But you'll have full illumination at this point. Oh no, Pathfinder severely limits me from doing that. Never mind. We learn things every day with this system and software. But regardless, you're all surrounded by these orcs. And the very first thing that's going to happen as you make it to a campsite here, of course, walking around a fire, I do a quick dice roll. Oh, what do you know? Dean and Devaxian are both at the top of both lists alphabetically, and I was going to the actors list, but I got no defense I can use now. As a firm arm is going to wrap directly around your character's shoulders, and in essence as well, Deacon's shoulders, since your tokens were beside each other. And I do always place them down fairly semi-random, more or less, alphabetically in a circle. As they're going to give the firm squeeze of that, almost pulling in for the chokehold as they give the nod. Okay, which one of you is going to try and outdrink me? And you hear laughing and clapping from others as numerous orcs walking up and around the campfire, some of them butting heads, some of them telling stories. But overall, they seem to actually be of a joyful time.
Deacon, do you want this one, or?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Alrighty.
Baxton's just thinking, I'm not going to tell him he's trying to outdrink an android.
Fighting off against
our character know that, right? You told us.
The full party knows I'm part robot.
Okay. I was going to ask Alan if this was odds. But when we hover over a token, it gives us like enlarged image of what the monster actually is in the corner.
Oh yeah, in the bottom left. Yeah, you'll notice for all the orcs, they all look the same. I use generic, but yep, that's a mod. I love it. One of my favorites.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Comes in really handy when you drop that epic token and someone hovers over it and sees the full shot. Or for characters and all that, when you all have a full piece of artwork, it'll show up. So like Nestri, that one down there in the bottom left, you get a really clean shot of that custom artwork. Same for all the others, don't get me wrong. But that's the other ones, you know where you got yours from. Took a bit of work for the most of you, though, so...
I really feel like it's important to reiterate that I did not draw that. It was just an avatar generator thing.
Yep.
So that's not my art.
It's even got the picture on it that says where it came from, so...
Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to make sure that was really clear.
Are you embarrassed, Jillian?
No, I'm not embarrassed. I just... Okay, never mind.
Well, that's the thing. If it fits the character and the image is good, by all means... I'm going to go ahead and get some nice party music going in the background, because that's always a little bit more fun as they're having themselves a wild time with the group of you. So as mentioned, one of them's looking for a drinking contest, but there's no shortage of your usual orc contest, drinking contest, fun times. In fact, there's one orc that I have right beside Nestri. Judging by that token, could be in either direction, but you know what? I'm going to have this be female for this token specifically. She's going to walk right up to you, arms folded, as she nods her head and just says,
Okay, little one, why don't you tell me some of your great stories of battle?
As they give a firm laugh afterwards. So they've challenged you to tell a tale better than their own. And as for Deacon's probably wondering how's that run gonna work for your character. Because after all, you're gonna be trying to outdrink someone, right?
Yep, I will certainly try.
That's technically some poison checks here, but do you have anything against poison or alcohol with your character by default? I can't quite remember for the android.
I believe I have a +1 to poisons and such. Let me double check. Yeah, I have a +1 versus diseases, poisons, and radiation.
Alright, so you got a +1 on your fort save as you're drinking, taking a shot against this orc brute. Though, as you're agreeing to it, they just give their ha-ha, yes! And they'll pretty much grab your character by the shoulders, almost pick them up and pop them down in a seat by themselves. You know, that smooth, come here with me motion. Both of you now sitting in front of the fire, as two orcs come up on either side of you. Both of them physically identical, look like twins. But it's then that you notice as you're looking around, there's a third. Who's just walking around watching everything with a big dumb grin on their face, glossed over eyes, and you're guessing they've already been partying a fair bit. So much that they even give a bump into Phoenix with one shoulder like, you wanna place bets? As the two of you are starting to drink. But the two of the three both come over with a full tankard of some of the raunchiest smelling ale you've ever seen. This one winking as they say,
I've had it on the back of my vor for like 3 months. It should be good.
It sloshes ever so disgustingly. As for our orc friend, well, they're going to make a roll. I'm doing this one out loud. They don't got the greatest of stats, but with an 18 on the dice roll, they pull that jug up, throw it back, release the greatest belch you've ever heard before turning towards your character with a large grin.
Alright, down the hatch.
Alrighty. As you take drink number 1. Both of you, same time, throw the drink back together. You know, sometimes I like to edit how things have happened because you don't know until the dice hit. But where you got a 26, both of you chug. Both of you look like beasts as you do it. Both of you throw back with a great big roar or drink or however your character would celebrate. As you're already prepping for a second round. But we'll get there with your character. Now, as I'm popping around and just having them interact with you and have some things happen, this isn't to say it isn't without some degree of possibility of reward. After all, who was it who had the +1 armor graphs done? Help me out here, Dean. I believe, or Dan, I believe it was the Vaxian and Deacon, maybe, because they were frontliners, or was Nestry one?
Yep.
All right. So, the Vaxian's going to feel a tap on their shoulder. Maybe you're watching the liquor game. Maybe you're just having a good time. Don't know. But you'd feel a tap on your shoulder.
Hello?
Turning around, you'd see a rather old-looking orc. One with a brutal face and large tusks. Their hand reaching out and grabbing you by the collar, practically lifting you up and off of your feet. But as previously noted, you've already gotten the insight from these for what their sort of moods are. So you know when someone's about to throw a punch. No, this one leaning in as he's sort of stumbling, and you can see the eyes a little glossed over. What are you talking about? There's anything here? As he pokes at where the rune was carved into your armor and nods. Big grin falling across his face.
Eddie grabbed it and ripped it apart. I was getting you a piece.
Oh. Sorry, Sandy was passing me bread. Addie ripped it apart first, though, because you know. But it's sourdough bread that she just made. It's very tasty. And you're probably wondering,
no
don't leave
worries.
me in suspense, man. He smirks at you as you see he reaches into the folds of those odd armored form of his, and then pulls out a runestone for armor. A basic one, just a toss of +1 like the other ones you've seen so far, as he pokes at that of yours. Then holds up dice in one of his hands between the fingers as he says,
I bet you I could take you out in a game of chance.
Probably, I'm very dumb.
however, roll me a perception check.
Okay.
With a 24, as your character's keen eyes gloss over those cubes, you can't help but notice they're 20-sided dice, a little stranger in design. If you've ever seen that picture of the old Roman dice that have the dots on the sides of the 20 points, like that, made entirely of metal, but they're 20-siders, and something for a second inside of you resonates as if you think, maybe with those you could control your luck a bit better, given the world you're in. Meta, I give you the knowledge that since it's a 20-sided dice, I'm going to stretch your hero point and say that you can use a hero point to re-roll. And don't forget, I did give you all a reward last week.
Oh yeah, we've got I think we start with 2, right?
Yep, this session you start with
Yes.
2, because you absolutely avoided combat in a situation that almost demanded it. Almost. So you have an idea, you might be able to use a hero point by meta knowledge to re-roll that. Your character in character would just be looking at the d20s thinking, you know, I might actually be lucky tonight. I don't know though. That's an odd feeling. Because we know how your luck is some games.
You talk about luck. I'm on vacation just now, and what's the first day of my holiday? Snowstorm.
Yep, it's coming.
It feels targeted. I'll play some chess with you if you want.
All right. So they're going to be rolling dice against you. However, what you're playing is a slightly modified version of a game called Baldur's Bones. As this orc gives a shake of his head.
Didn't find they were good enough, so I decided to make my own. I call it Broken Bones. You can't go over a 45. But the rules are pretty much the same.
As he holds up 3 dice and passes them towards you, chuckling softly as he does. He doesn't go first. Now, the way this one plays is pretty simple. You open your hand throwing 3 d20s down. Which means if you go bust on your opening hand, you immediately lose something that the challenger faces, but the victor doesn't. So you know, always double or nothing or anything.
Okay, right. So it's get as close to 45 as you can without going over.
And you have to roll 3 dice to start. So it already has a series of risk. After that, you
Right.
may hit and add as many as you want. Look at that, a 20, a 14, and an 11. So, you know I'm gonna have to come back to that, right? Like, Dean, for God's sakes, I just made fun of you for not having any good luck, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Ah,
Well, damn. I'm giving you a hero point. Sandy,
it not.
I told him he had to roll 3 d20s and get as close to 45 without going over as possible.
Okay.
He rolled 3 d20s and got 45. I had to
That's
tell
amazing.
him, I had to share it. That's wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
So-
I a little bit afraid for the rest of the day, I'll be honest with you.
Oh goodness.
You just gotta believe. You just gotta have faith, dude.
Well,
You and your brother, you just don't believe in the dice. So the dice don't believe in you, man.
well, damn.
I imagine the vaccine probably looks as dumbfounded as I do just now, just open mouthed.
Like, I even made it so it's a game that's skewed in your favor to begin with. But I'll reference Lady Luck because that's the traditional name. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Lady Luck looked in and said, no, let's mess with him. So, we're going to come back to that outcome because, gosh, I got to leave that sit for a minute and leave that on a cliffhanger. You have like 5 orcs leaning over as this happens, seeing those dice land as they do. And as they do, we're going to focus over on Dan's character, Phoenix. Someone did offer to make bets with you on the drinking contest. You taking any interest?
You know, I'll bet on Jameson's character.
All right. How much do you want to bet on Deacon winning this one?
I'll drop a gold coin.
Oh, they match a gold coin, no problem. They give a slight scoff. Then they hold up a bag that they drop down as they smile and lean forward. What, you don't have confidence in your friend? I'm willing 100 gold and he'll whoop his ass. Ooh, pardon me. As they look to increase the pot.
Okay.
He gives a firm laugh and gives your character a nice good hard smack on the back at the same moment, saying that's the way
God,
to go.
the pressure.
Huh?
Not going to say anything.
Jameson sitting with 2 hero points, Nanite Surge, and I think about a +10 in the difference versus your standard orc. We will see how that goes for you. Now, mind you, sometimes it's nice to hold those hero points, but keep in mind, usually most sessions you end with them still, so make sure feel free to use them. But, as this is being said, Dan's going to hear a voice from beside himself, a light chuckle, as someone looks up. You seem pretty confident in yourself, buddy. What, you some kind of, smart guy? As the one towards your right, lofting a brow, has a bit of a smile. And you might be thinking, oh my god, they're firing a fireball. They might have been able to in a different life, but now, scholarly robes, on top of hide armor, mind you, for what appears to be a learned orc. Or excessively learned, I should say. And I know learned isn't a thing. I was going for a joke.
Patty? Patty, are you all done? Are you all done? One more.
I have knowledge, yes.
Patty?
And they'll give a smirk at that and nod their head. And make mention. Well, if you think about it, you can solve a few of my riddles. I might be willing to part with a prize. But if you can't, as he looks towards the bag of gold, I'm gonna take your winnings. What do you think?
All right.
Ah, so you're on par for that one. And he gives a laugh and a nod as you see 2 more drinks being set down for Deacon, but we'll get to that in a moment. Jillian, I started this little round tussle with your character when I had a badass looking female orc who's clearly someone who's used to battle coming up, basically challenging you to give her a good story. Now, there is a reason I stepped away and have come back after going through everyone else, giving you 2 options. You can dice roll your way through it with your skills and abilities, because you know. Or you can actually recite a story for your character if you want to, if you got something in mind. You got the option to try to win this one with pure roleplay if you want, or rely on the dice. Either way, But I figured if I stepped away for a quick minute and come back, it would at least give you time to think up something if you wanted to. Or at least the choices.
Right. So I think I'm leaning towards roleplay.
All right.
So give me the context again, because my mom just texted me. She booked a hotel for me when I'm going to Montreal in March, and I was just texting her back and forth about if she booked me a hotel, and I wanted anyway. So I've been a bit distracted in the last few minutes. So
No worries. It was
refresh
perfect timing.
me.
They just want
Okay.
a war story out of you, a challenge, some great battle, something of the sort like that. They basically saying, "I bet you I can beat that."
Okay. And I'm Jillian, right? Like, this is Jillian as Nestry.
Yep.
Okay. She sits around and pours everyone a drink, and makes sure everyone's comfy, and says, "Let me tell you about Fulminoxus the Brave."
Oh.
Some people say that she was half dragon. Some people say that she was just a regular dragonborn. Came from nowhere, nobody knew her name. She found some friends and worked really hard and had some really hard times. But she didn't stop working hard, and she didn't stop doing what she thought was right for her whole life. One day she got into some really heavy shit, like world ending, like save the world, and she went in a fight that she knew she was gonna lose. And she died over and over and over again. The only thing that kept her up were her friends and her sheer will to overcome the challenges that were thrust upon her. And she did it. She barely up, bleeding from everywhere, barely alive, took one last swing, and it was exactly what she needed to do. The person she was fighting failed in their quest, and it was hard, and she cried a lot, and she didn't think that was cool. She didn't think that was something that she thought people would look down on her, but for her it was a strength, and the strength to know that it was okay to feel everything that she needed to feel, because at the end of the day, she did what she had to do, and she continued to do what she had to do for the rest of her life. So let's have a drink to flex, and she'll like hold up her glass and give everyone a cheer.
Sorry, Addison just had perfect timing. You could just hear the end of it there.
It's
Sorry.
okay.
I was like, I gotta come off mute because all the orcs around you. Because your character, just as a question, you have the spellclassing cast feature with the arcane tradition, right?
Yes, I believe so.
That's you in a nutshell as a magus, right?
Yeah.
I'm like lifting a brow as I'm rolling a shoulder as I'm leaning in. If it was real life, you know what I'm
I think
getting at.
that's about yeah.
Rest of the table's like, what's he giving her? Well, the orcs who all give a drink and a cheer at that one to you, almost as if a few of them knew the tale, but not to the detail that you did with the information you were able to fill in. And she gives a light scoff as she just says, I just killed a mountain lion with my bare hands. As she takes off a rather beautiful looking signet ring that she passes over towards your character with a nod, saying you can certainly run. And she gives a smile and gives you a clap on that, and then downs her drink as well before continuing on. You might be wondering, ooh, what did I get?
You can certainly run? What does that mean?
Apparently some orc phrase. Whatever it is positive, however, as the others don't seem to have any issue with it.
Is our buddy with us? What's his name? The guy we always forget the name of, who we risked our lives to save.
Oh, Garrett.
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 Right. Is he around? So I want to know what this means. What this phrase means.
Yurt is presently seated with his dad.
Are they busy?
He's got that, the son has an awkward look on his face, looks, he has that weird, worried, what have I done, am I in trouble? I'm not, I'm sure if I'm in trouble, with both hands holding on either of his knees, sweat drops on his face. If he was an anime character, he'd look real bad. The father, though, looks quite happy, laughing, throwing back a drink, a good time. As for what I just tossed your character, normally I'd say, you gotta identify, but you're technically resting right now. You can take the time, and you gotta reassign your magical items anyway. So I'll give you this one.
I'm honestly more wondering about the phrase than the ring at this point.
You'll have to follow up. I mean, you could just outright ask, but...
Okay, Nestri will lean in and be like, I just told you a story about how, somebody I knew didn't run. What do you mean?
She blinks a few times, looking somewhat confused, shakes her head and says, no, on Warg, you could jump on back and go like a real monster like the rest of us. And she nods her head, confirming. A word they use. When you'd say you would ride a horse, they run a Warg.
Oh, okay.
So it's the equivalent. Someone on horseback, a big old knight looking at you and saying you could ride. Definitely could ride on a horse. No problem. We could take it to battle. Essentially saying you could kick ass with us anytime.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but I just I didn't know. I had to know.
Oh goodness. Well, as for the item that you have found, it's made from the purest platinum. Your eyes probably would find themselves drawn to it for a little while, as it's covered in esoteric arcane symbols. The Vaxium was looking on at this, he'd probably be like, oh, I think that one's from 13th century, There'd be those moments. And it does absolutely nothing unless you have a spellcasting class feature with the arcane tradition, which is you, in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. And while wearing this Ring of Wizardry, you gain a +1 item bonus to Arcana checks and have 2 additional first-level arcane spell slots each day.
Ooh, that's sick.
You prepare spells in these slots or cast them from them spontaneously, just as you normally cast your spell. Though if you take off the ring for any reason, you lose those spell slots and can't gain them, or any of them, until once a day, so you'd lose it for the whole day.
Yeah, of course.
And if you cast spells in a variety of different ways, like Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer with the Wizard multi-class archetype, you can divide the spell slots as you wish among your various sources of your arcane spells. But yes, it's called the Ring of Wizardry, the standard norm edition, not the +2 or plus anything else like that. No extra spell slots, no second levels, just firsts, but still, that should still be pretty handy at 5th level.
Oh my god, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
A nice little gift to get you stretch out in combat a bit. And now Dan's probably thinking, oh shoot, what do I stand to gain for solving riddles? And Deacon's probably thinking, oh shoot, give me a con save. You will find out. But they presented you with a wonderful gift.
I'm rolling a con save?
God, fort save for Deacon.
Oh, for Deacon. Okay, I thought you were talking to somebody else, but then it was quiet, and I was so worried it was rolling a con save.
Heaven help me. I said, roll a con save. How to tell what system I'm generally used to. As I get a 4 for the orc, they throw back their second mug, and you see them stumbly a little bit as they shake their head. They go, oh, now that one hits like a mule. And your character, who swigs back the second one, well, with a 27, do you think they're affected? You can probably guess the outcome of that moment as you throw that one back without any trouble, thus securing a second point of victory. And which then leads...
And let out that, Kratos sigh from the 2018 God of War, just like... Ah!
Oh, goodness. Nice, firm... Ah, while the other guy beside you is just stumbling like... I can't... As for Phoenix, they have a riddle from the orc sitting beside them as they nod and say,
I come from a mine, and I get surrounded by wood always, and everyone uses me. What am I?
And Dan, I'll give you time on that one by all means. We'll pop back as they give you a riddle. As you see, a couple other orcs are now stepping forward, starting to clamor about as they discuss the drinking contest, as they start to make bets, shifting towards Deacon after that last round. And as for the gentlemen, what tipped their hat to Devaxian, they're going to be sitting there as they see the 3 dice land, blinking a few times as they do, looking awestruck, holding up their own dice. Oh, hello, Adibu. Good night.
Oh, I need.
Oh, I got my kiddo for a minute. Oh, she's in my lap. They're gonna look towards you awestruck as they hold up 3 dice and they admit that they could try and roll them. If they score a natural 45, it'd be a split between the two of you, but they so rarely ever see it. He gives a slow nod of his head, sets down the rune for armor, and reaches into his pouch, admitting that seeing such a rare sight deserves something a little more. But you're going to have to give me 2 minutes, because I got to take my kiddo for a second. So I'm just going to quickly be right back.
No worries, man.
As things are going good now, as fun times are happening, the orc is going to take a moment to pull a second rune out. Set the rune stone down on top of the first as they slide both towards you with a nod before they start to stumble away. As they give you a weapon potency rune to get the standard +1 onto any piece of weaponry.
Amazing. Oh, thank you. Wow. You just want to play for fun now, or?
He shakes his head. No. Yes.
I probably shouldn't tempt fate. Yeah.
Little interest in trying, admittedly, because it's a little bit on the nutso side.
Yeah.
So, as that's happening, we're gonna focus over to Dan for a second. Any ideas, Dan?
Shot in the dark, but I'm gonna say water.
He gives a slow chuckle and shakes his head. That is not the answer he's looking for. You've got 2 shots left to get it right. That's right, I'm giving you 3 shots on this one. Now, as you're thinking that over, Deacon's gonna have to give me another con save. Or fort save. I did it again. As this orc gets a 15. It seems to be just holding on that drink.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to use the hero point for that.
All right.
Oh.
Oh no.
With an
Not much
Technically
better, but still.
Technically better.
It's not a drop from a crit fail, at least. That's the important thing. So, you're both managing to hold on as you throw back yet another drink. Though Deacon hasn't even looking at any effect at this point. Jameson just kicking butt with those rolls. Dan, you got any other guesses?
Gold.
He gives another laugh and shakes his head and says,
I'll give you a hint, buddy. You can put it behind your ear.
as he holds up a finger indicating you have one guess left.
Put it behind your ear.
Oh, shoot. I realized. I pasted in a little bit of the answer there. It's supposed to be just what am I for the end of that. The idea of a mine might lead you to coal or a diamond. Ignore that. Clearly that's a hint. That's like giving info for the answer. Which means that's not the answer. This is what I get for copy pasting. I did hear Dan earlier mention, I just want to Google it, and I can't blame you, bud. I really can't. You can be certain I don't make up riddles. I look them up to make sure they're
Oh.
solid.
Oh, I think I might know.
Your per character's probably still dumbfounded over their luck as they're looking at the two stones in their hands like, wow, this is incredible.
The vaccine doesn't know, he's an idiot. But Dean, I think I think Dean knows. Yep.
And they call it a mine. A mine!
Oh, goodness. Now, while he's debating that, Dean, I'm sure your character is going to be looking at those runes like, haha, yeah, he gave me an armor rune and they gave me this cool weapon rune, right?
Yeah?
Why don't you give me a perception check?
Okay.
It's a fake.
Dang it, Julian, at least let him roll first.
Yeah, I shall spend a hero point that I have free.
And Mystery's like, what you looking at over there?
Alright.
Looks
That's
up, looks
more
back down,
respectable.
restarts the check. He's like, well, okay, you notice, surely one of them is a weapon rune +1. The other is not an armor rune, however.
Oh.
Now, you can figure out what type of rune that is. Probably would take the remaining time, just like, Nesri's still checking out her ring, seeing how it works, and like, oh, by the end. As for what you've got there, that's an interesting piece of gear. As you see, that this is indeed a weapons rune as well. But it's a weapons rune of cunning. Can only be put on a slashing or piercing weapon. And you know what, I'll just go ahead into the handouts and throw up what that one does. Might be something you might have a little bit of fun with. But essentially, you can get recall knowledge about a target with a bonus equal to the weapon's item bonus, the +1, to the attack rolls from the potency rune. Critical gives you a +2 as well on top of that. But might be something a little interesting for you to play around with, depending on how it goes. Right. And now, Dan, while I give that for Dean to look up, you got any ideas on that riddle?
No.
All right, Jameson, give me another fort save.
Will do.
Erp. You sticking with that 19?
Well, I beat him, so that's fine, right?
Maybe.
God damn it. You know what? I'll add Nanite Surge to that.
All right.
So that'll be 24.
As you start to drink that one back, maybe it's your sixth sense kicking in, but you can feel the liquor still taking holds, trying to make you pass. However, your nanite surge pushes you above and beyond, as that DC might have been a 20. Just to give you an idea of how the jumps are going up, as you hear beside yourself at that exact moment, a loud, heavy thud. The orc you were drinking against now lying on their back, eyes closed and quite snoring, drink hitting the ground beside them. And you don't even have a buzz on. The group.
And this is what it means to go even further beyond. Drunk.
Oh, goodness. And you hear cheering and you hear jeering, and you see someone sliding 100 gold to Dan's character, as he just made 100 gold off that run of yours. So I'll check back in with Dan. You got any ideas? Dean thinks he has an idea of what it could be. I might be willing to let you phone a friend. You know, maybe you're looking side on towards his character and the other party members like, anybody? But that's up to you.
Yeah, all honesty, I suck at riddles. That's what Google is for.
Well, you can use your Google Foo then if you want, by all means. Unfortunately, you're playing a wizard, so... Alright. Beyond that then, did the team want to make a guess with Dan for the last one to see what you're gonna get?
Dean has a guess.
Mm-hmm.
I can make it if everybody
Go for it.
wants. Okay. Is it lead? Surrounded by wood, so like a pencil, and everyone uses them.
So Devaxian's looking towards Phoenix. Oh, wait, my mouse is invisible. There we go. Devaxian is looking towards Phoenix, giving a whisper. Pencil! Pencil! You know. You trying it, Dan?
Yeah, I'll try it.
As you say it, he starts laughing and shaking his head and even wipes away a tear, emitting,
Oh yeah, look at you, buddy. You're some lucky, huh?
as you see them pull out what is essentially a carpenter's pencil, very thick and heavy. But given the time and era and their manufacturing capacity, you know, that's probably about the best they're going to get. As he pops that behind one ear and nods. And then holds over towards your character a rather pretty looking ring. However, you have to decide something as I'm passing you this ring. You've got to pick a single school of magic for me. And this item will directly relate to that school of magic for you. Do you need another minute?
I'm pretty sure I'm an evocation. It is my school of choosing for my character.
The usual way you go. Just on the off chance that you have some strange plans, because I never know what players are up to. And you sometimes pull a rabbit out your hat when no one's expecting it, so you know what I'm saying. So if you want to run it with your main core for evocation, you would find as well, this is a rather pretty ring that they're passing over towards you, like many others you would imagine. Well designed and carved well. Now give me a second here, I'll get a nice picture for that one. Uncool, it does not have one. Oh well, it happens. As this ring, covered in symbols and glyphs, all related to the evocation school of magic and carved from a beautiful piece of white gold, gains a +2 item bonus to Arcana checks and a +1 circumstance bonus to recognize magical effects and items of the specific school of magic. As well, you can use some special abilities to gain a focus point, only to cast a wizard school spell of the corresponding school. And if not used by the end of your turn, the focus point is lost. You can use it once per day. A specialist's ring. This one for your school, as picked. Something to play around with for your spells and abilities. And plus you're 100 gold richer, so booyah to that one. I'll give you a link to the Archives of Nethys for that one too, because, you know, that's where the good stuff goes. So, finally, not to be outdone, because Deacon's probably thinking, okay, we've had the round robin. My character won the drinking contest. What do I get? Well, they walk over towards you, one of the two twins, as they give a nod, adding that you've earned this, as they hold over a pair of tiered leather bands designed to wrap around your muscles on your armbands, essentially, with a nod. And at first you're just thinking leather armbands, but on second notice you can tell that they're certainly an exceptional piece of gear. A very nice piece of gear, no less. As you've been passed, armbands of athleticism. They grant you enhanced stamina and skill when performing athletic exercises. While fastened to your upper arms, they give you a +2 item bonus to your athletics checks, and in addition, whenever you use an action to climb or swim and you succeed at it, you add 5 feet item bonus to the distance you move, except that would be the default version. This one, carved with incredible runes of orcish design, is a greater armbands of athleticism. So it's a +3 bonus to your athletics checks, and your climb and swim speed in the same scenario is increased by 10 feet.
Ooh.
A nice high-grade piece of gear for the team to play around with. Not too combat-breaking, but outside of combat, well, you're getting up there in the levels now, and flight is sort of a thing to worry about. So, I've tossed some goodies all of your way to play around with. Some magical items more aligned to your characters than just a random dice roll, as I like to do with Pathfinder, because it says, just shower the players in magical gear, shower them. Like, Dean, what do you think of that one? Think you're going to make some use with a cunning weapon?
Yeah, I mean, it ties really nicely into, like, my character concept as well, where it's all about gaining information.
Exactly. And I'll make
So
it a little
that's-
quicker for those rolls, or a little easier to get those rolls for you.
Yeah,
And now
Yeah, no,
they're
that's-
higher.
pretty cool. Because also, what's good about it is that you can activate this after you've already hit, which means that if you don't know what to do with your third action, it gives you something to do with the third action rather than take the swing at like -10.
Oh god, yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Though as the levels rise, the team's getting stronger every day. So it's hard to say where exactly these things are going to go. Now, there's some goody gear for the team, of course. But there is one other small thing I'm going to have someone lean in on. What is presently Deacon's main weapon?
That would be, of course, the fighter's fork.
All right. That thing gets a +1, right? Like it has to, because it's a magical
Yep.
with all the features. Good, just making sure. Never mind. I was looking and I saw the blade and I'm like, and you don't have a magical blade. When did I not mess that? Oh, wait, you got a fighter's fork. There. I was about to put my foot in my mouth. The team's fairly well equipped now with some gear, because I like giving out some rewards for some fun moments. And plus, you get to hear the orcs laughing and joking around. In fact, there's a few of the commoners here now, including the mayor, who's presently fiercely arguing with another orc, both of them debating the intricacies of dragon chess, and how the mayor advises that a very aggressive strategy is always best, while the orc is advising that no, you must stake out your battles, examine your opponents, and defeat them through cunning and logic. Every piece lost on the board is a crime against the game. To which the mayor's saying pieces lost on the board are towards the greater victory. They should be honored to, you know. But it's the best kind of argument you could imagine two people having. Because even though they're fierce about it, they're both still drinking, having a laugh every now and again and agreeing on things. Such is the nature of the night. Nothing too bad's happening, except the orcs are wild. Fights break out on the regular as well, but they're little more than fist fighting and quick scuffles before they're broken up and people go back and even drinking with each other not 15 minutes later. In fact, I need all of you to give me a dice roll. D20 flat, no extra bonuses, no nothing that can be rolled with it, to see who's unlucky enough to have gotten smacked by one of these. Goodness me. Well, there's the dice saying, ha, you got that 45 earlier. Well, the vaccine does take a quick shot to the jaw, an overhanded swing as someone says, no one gets that lucky on dice. Wham. I mean, we saw it. People get that lucky on dice. You just did. But you get pulled into one of those tussles, and it's... At first, you might have been concerned. You might have even been worried. You might have even been thinking, I got dice rolls to make. But what it eventually boils down to at the end, there's about 4 or 5 of them jumping in, throwing a few mild punches, wrestling, twisting, and grabbing, and you're out of there before anything happens. Unless, of course, you want to throw punches. That's up to you, though. But you can definitely slip away from it with little more than a bruised ego.
I don't think the vaccine's smart enough to not antagonize someone back. He'd probably punch back.
All right. Well, this is more of a brawl that you'd see in the kind of movie scenario where the rest of your team is probably just sitting back with a drink like, oh, hey, look, he's taking care of himself pretty good over there. So the easiest thing for me to do for this one is to have you roll a couple quick checks. First, give me a reflex save.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
$18 on your reflex save as this all starts. After that, give me 2 athletics checks.
Alright,
As much as you're thinking, I'd rather just be rolling punches, technically.
my athletics is not too bad.
24 on the first one. 22 on the second one. And finally, give me a performance roll.
Performance roll.
Yep.
Ooh.
Alternately, you can roll deception.
I don't mind rolling performance. I'm trained in deception, but if your first call was for performance, I don't mind.
Alrighty. $10 on your performance check. Alright, so the reason I had you roll that reflex save at the start is how fast are you on your feet? Did your character manage to roll with that punch that caught them? Yes, you did. No damage. Quickly pulling around, grabbing that person by the arm and just tossing them aside, you found yourself in a pile of them. Charging at you, grappling you, grabbing at you, doing what they can. But your first move, well, you just wrap your arms around someone's waist and by pure athletics, you lean backwards. You perform a beautiful suplex maneuver to one of the orcs, and they're down and out. After that, well, you pull a perfect people's elbow off the top rope, which is what one of the orcs is yelling as they're pointing a finger. Your character gets a little bit of height, jumps and just comes down on another one, both of them down. And this continues on for a bit, and at the end of it, you have the option, you know, that you can run this as another orc is standing boastfully. You get the chance to do the same to the orcs, and as you try with performance, essentially, as I roll all this into one big run for you, you seem to break the party at that point, going, yeah! Whatever your performance was, it's like, I'm the best! They're like, that people's elbow was a little overdoing it. And the crowd more or less disperses and the fight's done because of the nature of orcs. Yeah. Everything happened smooth and fast, and you were just swept up in the way it went. You weren't the only one doing performance at the end. A lot of the orcs were.
Yeah.
Which is why you also had the option for deception. You could have just lied and said, I wasn't even flipping trying, and they would have been like, shit. But with good rolls, you managed to pull off a good time, and your other party members all get to see it. And since you ran with it, I'm going to go ahead and give the whole team a hero point. Mostly because you all kicked butt at what you just did, but you also finished off with a good round, so best reward I can give is the honest to goodness pat on the back.
Just wandering around with a bloody nose.
Couple of bruises, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A little bit of healing, you'll be good. Not sure what's up with Oolog at the moment, but you know they're either partying or just chatting it up with some people nearby because, well, they fit the heritage, so they're kicking some butt. But
Maybe because we're at a party, the vaccine will test out his just to throw a wild card in there. He'll he'll pour out like his second implement. It's like the chalice, but I think we said it could be like a kind of Bloodborne style like injection ampule kind of thing.
Yep.
He just stabs himself with this bloody vial, and he seems to heal a little bit.
3 orcs standing beside you were like, medicine. They just keep going. Goes against their culture or something. They absolutely refuse to be healed because their baddies are just too badass. Get one old guy with a bad cough. They're like, no, get him some penicillin. This is different.
Is that sterile? What?
Is that Advil
It's
in your
fine.
hand for that bruised knee I gave you? Smacks it out. You heal from that like a warrior. They're like, no, the Advil's actually for a headache. Oh, no, you take that then. Feel better. Go get some rest. They draw a fine line. Bodily injury? You may not. Ails? Okay, well. Now, as it is with most things, however, it's not completely an uneventful evening. Because as the party's going on and as we're getting later into the night, is when you would hear a firm stomping and thudding coming from a certain war chief, certain father, as he brings his foot down, hollering out to everyone essentially to hold their drinks and to hold their voices, which takes a good 2 or 3 before he has to bellow a roar, deafening into the air. You see, one of the advisors beside him was actually pulling up a horn to do so, but looked so shocked at the sheer level that his voice was able to reach that, well, silence was very quick to fall, everyone's eyes on him as he gives a slow nod of his head, adding in, I have an announcement to make. Grin spreading wide, those orcish teeth on full display, as he pats his hand on his son's back and adds, We're gonna have a wedding tonight. And you know, we might be a few minutes on the early side, but I think that'd be a perfect little spot for us to toss a quick 10-15 minute break in and then jump back to the game. You know, the usual mid-session run as we usually do.
Yep, sounds good.
Alright.
Because you know me, I love a good cliffhanger. And after having ourselves a little lunch break, we are back to the game. We'll get some nice music going in the background as the orcs standing around look somewhat disappointed as they give a growl and a roar, throwing hands in the air and somewhat dispersing. The war chief gives a little bit of a shake of his head after delivering the news, before pointing towards the group of you and saying, You lot come here, essentially, as he's looking to talk to you all now.
What's shaking, big man?
As you're all walking up, as his son's still looking nervous as can be, he's sitting there pretty much still sweating bullets. But you know, the war chief is gonna stand up and give a slow nod of his head. You lot are a considerably powerful bunch. This I can tell at a glance. We hunted you, and you fought back with ferocity, but after the tale of hearing about the mighty kraken in the air, well, without a doubt, I don't believe we have any chance of your defeat. So, I've decided to give my blessing to my son and his bride, welcome them into the war pack with a proper wedding. However, a few of my advisors are yet in need of convincing.
Which is where you all would come in very handy.
And what would you need us to do?
I've got 3 holdouts who caused somewhat of a disturbance among mine. Speak with them, convince them that this union would be beneficial to all.
Okay, all right. And are they are they in the camp? Are they off elsewhere? Whereabouts could we find them?
Oh, they're here partying. You'll have no trouble hunting them down.
Um, will they be violent or?
He snorts a laugh at that one, and then just lifts a brow up at you with that question.
I guess my question was, how far will they take things, and should we meet them with a like mind? I suppose.
Given your skills of communication, he adds in, you should not have too much trouble conversing with them, though I do not know how you'll specifically do so. You need to speak with these 3.
As he points a finger out towards one of the triplets, which, unfortunately, since it seems I got a double copy, are actually 4 of them who are identical. Quintuplets? Goodness.
Mom.
You know, normally I'd be on top of that one as well, but I've seen orcs. They seem like the toughest people in the world.
Yeah, it's true.
She's probably getting out of bed the next day like, I'm already healed, let's go to war, and every other orc just telling her, you need 6 weeks bed rest. She's like, this is bullshit. Because, you know, they're warring orcs. I'm going to make them as stereotypically as possible for combat. But no, they would definitely take care of themselves. I mean, oof. Before, maybe they just look very similar, regardless. He's going to point towards one of the 4 from where he's standing, down in the corner, advising Nuirgigi is the name of that one. You'll need to convince them to just let it go, because nobody wants to give up his son, essentially. They're proud, they're orcs, but these are the only holdouts. There's also Bog Hat. They point a further way south for that one. The chef amongst them, who generally takes care of meals and goodies, is threatening to go on strike if this union persists. And finally, the one that he thinks you'll have the greatest trouble with, Omugug, the wise and the old, indicating the same old man that the vaccine whooped in a game of chance.
Any chance we could get the spelling of those names?
He
Because
blinks a few times at you and says, I do not know how to write. I mean, I tossed him in the chat, don't get me wrong.
Alright, sorry, my
Oh, I was doing it as you asked, like the timing was perfect, man. I love it.
no, I've only got the one screen, so my notes are all in I'm switching tabs. Alright. Awesome.
He makes a note to advise you, though. Most of the orcs around here, as he adds,
they've begun to look at you all in a different sort of light. Your names are being hoisted up to the sort of legends and myths. So whatever strengths you have, keep in mind, my people already have an endearing forced respect for the lot of you. Be cautious. No one likes to see their heroes crumble.
whether or not you're viewed as heroes to these people is one thing, but as you're walking past, you can even hear a few of the orcs sort of leaning together. Cracking boat. Some of the tales from just your recent escapades are enough, and another one saying, undead and the critic home's crushed, gone. So you know.
Alright. Alright, okay. I mean... Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? They continue to say no? Don't answer that question. Right. Do you guys want to split up and tackle this individually, or should we stick together?
It might be best to stick together. That way, we have multiple avenues of trying to convince them.
Right, that sounds good for me. Should we go in any order presented? We'll start with Kurigik. One of the quintuplets.
May as well go with the order presented.
I imagine people would be dreadfully upset if we were to, well, stop the food coming out so soon into the fight. The night. Freudian slip there. Let's not read into it. Right.
Oh, Addie in the background. And you can't help but notice, while situated in these wastes, the small bit of clouds rolling in overhead, bringing with them a small drizzle of rain and darkness, but in the far distance out, you swear, you can see the smallest flashes for the brief moment of lightning, as it looks like a storm is starting to roll in, along with some fog, or at least the smallest volumes of it.
Well, let's see if we can get this wedding done before the rain comes.
Oh, goodness.
Right. Well, so we'll go up to the one of four, the quintuplet and
Nurigig.
Nurgig. And see what's up.
They look towards you as they approach, and you can see at the same time the other siblings appear to be all coming together. Not like Voltron, mind you, that would be creepy. Oh god, this is not body horror. That was sent to Avernus. They all just sort of stick around, standing firm, more or less shoulder to shoulder as you approach, as he looks towards you with the squint in his eye slowly, giving a nod of his head.
All right. You've come here looking for something. I can see it in your eyes. What is it?
You're the perceptive one. Well, the war chief was just discussing how you're not entirely on board with the wedding, so well, wanted to hear you out. See what you had to say.
I could care less who he decides to lay beside in his bed. What I am concerned with is the loss of the combat prowess he possesses.
He confirms as he nods, looking towards his brother on the right.
Right, Rurigigi?
He gives a nod, who looks over to the other brother. Yeah, right, Rurigigi. Oh goodness, Addison's in a mood.
Yeah.
Then they nod back towards the fourth.
You agree too, Locke?
Mm-hmm. And they have their arms folded over their chests as they look firm on this, as they add in.
What would we gain at losing that kid?
I mean, to be fair, he's already been gone for like a little while. You guys seem to be doing just fine.
grunts. Logic not being his favorite aspect of thing to take on.
Sorry.
Mind you, though, you could run with that feature, as you're mentioning knowledge, or mentioning that they've been fine without him. If you wanted, you could always use that as a means to convince him through diplomacy on its own.
I mean, sure. I'll give it a. Oh, nope, I'm not very good at that. What are my skills? Nothing really social.
One of these days, I'm going to use that thievery of yours, though, against someone.
It would be great. Certainly hasn't come up as much as I would have hoped.
That's because you're a good person.
Well, I guess I just meant for like lock picking and stuff. I have a +0. Like I'll maybe is it Devaxian that has the good charisma? Like maybe I'll just nudge him and be like, run with it.
Yeah, well, Naturally points out a good, a fine point there is that, you know, without Garrick, you'll get a chance to make up the gap and make yourself stronger as a result. You know, kind of like losing one sense, the others overcompensate, and sometimes make you stronger than you were before. And you won't know that until you try.
Destry quietly whispers, like Daredevil.
Yes. Like the devil who dares. The man without fear himself.
This one orc leans forward. Yes, I am the daredevil.
Nestry will also continue helping with that line of like, I don't know, persuasion, convention, like trying to convince them and say like, also it's like 2 less mouths to feed. I mean, things are gonna get rough on the way back. Like, the world's in bad shape. Like, at least you don't have to worry as much about keeping everyone fed.
Like 1 less mouth to feed.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I think I started off saying that.
Yep. Just the sum. It's like, you know, he's gone. You're stronger. 1 less mouth to feed. So, Deacon wants to roll that check.
Wait, what?
Oh, Deacon, sorry. If Devaxian wants to roll that check.
Just
Every now and again, I
that.
slip on the letter D's. That's it for you two. It's just the way it goes. I don't know if I'll ever get that fixed.
I did like the image of just Deacon going, huh? There's the alternative. That's good.
The
Okay.
vaccine stepping forward and a giant hand comes down from the sky, just says no, and pushes Deacon forward.
Oh, that was a 6 on the dice. Should I do a hero point reroll?
Can I give him one of my hero points? Since I was helping, could that be a way I help him?
I mean, I've got some to spare just now.
Okay.
I
I
feel
don't think you can transfer hero points to another player.
Are you tired?
Oh, come on. One worse. Okay, right, well.
Oh, goodness. Well, with a 19 on the roll, overall total, they give a slight groan as they shake their head and wave a hand at you, as they agree with you, in fact. They don't seem to be the hardest to persuade, thankfully. So you do get a pass on this one.
Right, okay. Not too bad then.
So they've agreed to give their blessing to it.
Right, it's good job, Nestry. I figured you'd have some input because he's an archer, you're an archer.
Yes, that.
That was my plan.
I definitely knew that he was also an archer.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that's one convinced. Didn't seem too bad. DC must not have been too high either. I mean, a 19 scored a victory, but at this level, Which means the other two, well, you've got the chef. Boghat, as he's known. That you'd have to converse with next.
Right. Does anyone know anything about cooking?
I mean, I suppose we can't use the same point of those defeat.
We could.
We could angle it at like, I've heard that he's a really picky eater. Won't it be so nice to not have to accommodate all of his little whims? Like, who doesn't like mushrooms? Who's so particular about what type of fish and how it's prepared that they eat? God, what a high maintenance fella.
Well, the chef at the moment, Chef Boghat, is presently managing the grill, cooking a number of very large flanks of meat, various different cuts with various degrees of cook and skill to each. You can definitely be chatting like that on approach. There's not too many near the burly, incredibly tall orc, scraping almost 8 foot high, arms as big as rocks, legs the size of tree stumps. It almost looks slightly silly, seeing him hold a regular-sized spatula leaning over this grill, as he has to actually lean down to do the work.
Or we could take a different approach and tell him it's a chance to challenge his skills to the greatest level by prepping for our wedding.
Yeah, that's good as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the meal is prepping him to fight life.
This is good. I reckon this idea has legs.
Well, that explains why it walked off.
But yeah.
And so who wants to get the conversation started with the chef?
Well, if I guess the Vax will walk and go. If I had a hat on, I would take it off to you, sir.
Now, as you're walking forward and you say that, he looks over towards you, squints his eyes, as he adds in, "The complaints to the chef can be hazardous to your health," as he goes back and flips one big piece of meat over.
You tend to take your hat off when you're giving compliments to the chef. I don't think there's anything here to complain about.
He looks and squints his eyes. He doesn't seem to trust you right off the get-go. And he says, "Orcs don't compliment. What's your game?"
I'm not an orc, so not your game.
Squints his eyes really hard, leans forward, leans back and says, "Oh, my bad." Looks back towards the meat as he flips another one. As you can tell immediately. Perception check, please. And the whole team's welcome to do this check, mind you. You've all walked over on approach. You just have one party member talking for you at the moment. Well, Deacon and Phoenix wouldn't actually notice. However, Nestri and Devaxian would see that telltale squint of those eyes. I'm almost tempted to give out advantage for anyone who wears glasses in real life for this one, but you know, his vision, not great. And ironically, that's also the way the dice rolled, because I think it's just the two of you, if at all, for just, why no, for any exposure
We
on
wear
that.
glasses. Yeah.
But I think it's
Just-
just...
Devaxian and Nestri like audibly shit talking. Like, oh my god, did you notice?
He's frustrated.
Oh my god.
is poor. He definitely could use glasses or maybe just an eye exam. But you never know without closer examination.
Do we have the means to make him glasses?
Oh,
I have
no.
crafting, right?
Something of that nature will require a considerable volume of work and time, examining his eyes,
Yeah.
and then finding a place to do that and making sure you get it right. You all know. You've been through the ringer. I used to be blind as heck when I was young. It would take forever, but, you know. He's asked what your game is. And when you may say, I'm not an orc, seems slightly more trusting of you now. He says orcs don't deliver compliments.
Well, it's actually coincidental. The subject of not being an orc comes up because we wanted to discuss the wedding between Garrick and. Come on, I found this just the other day. It begins with a K.
The shame was I always used my
Carrick.
Yep. I always
Yeah.
used my YouTube notes as my notes. So I was without those, so I had to make all my new notes. But yes. For their wedding, as you're mentioning, he gives a slight scoff as he leans forward again, narrowing his eyes at you. His chest illuminated by the fire of the grill, but seemingly undamaged, as he just grumbles. We've been trekking after that brat for so many days now, so many weeks, tearing through the woods, eating what we could find, going through my supplies provision. Do you have the foggiest idea how much this audacious expedition has cost me, personally, as a financier of our food and supplies?
Probably more than it should have. Traveling on the go is, well, at speed is always troublesome.
With a troop this size and people this big, plus the return trip taken into account, I am easily out 150 gold. So if somebody would be kind enough to cover that expense, then I'll look the other way for this wedding and I won't give a crap what he does with his brat.
I'm curious. Why do you operate with your own money and not the money from the tribe as a whole? If you're the, is it not like a group fund?
For situations just like these, whatever I put into our meal and fund is paid back to me doubly from any of our take. It's generally exceptionally lucrative, except when we get nothing, in which case I lose everything. Along with that, I also still get my cut of the take. So as you can see, it's quite lucrative when you work with carnivores like these, who have deep pockets and deeper stomachs.
And you've found nothing along the way that would be worth your time to take funds from on the way back.
Do you think I would have the time for dealing with those sort of issues? No, my day is cooking. I let others take care of raiding, pillaging, and searching. Those are beyond us, but no, we have been following you closely as best we could, and it was not an easy path. Single-minded in their raid, as he's gone forward. Though if you want, you can give me a perception check as you look insightfully on what he's telling you.
Sure. 1 heart. Oh,
Yep.
God.
Guy's out a lot of cash and he's just trying to recoup his loss. Definitely. And Jameson, you might note every now and again I'll tell the team to run an insight check. For years now, I've been pulling the wool over their eyes. But I think it was not often that they'll ask, is he lying to me? Can I do an insight check? Which as a DM is great, like we love it, but at the same time, I gotta be fair sometimes when someone's being a little cagey. But on a 12, Devaxian's not noticing anything out of the ordinary. The guy looks to recoup his loss.
Could anyone make a perception check for this?
You're all listening in, so if you're trying to be insightful on the enemy, yep, by all means.
Ayo!
Lord.
As you hear 150 gold, maybe that incredibly keen, mechanically set mind of yours started doing the math. Maybe it started crunching the numbers as you scanned across the group. As you thought to yourself, even with the return trip taken into mind and feeding them very well, that seems like a slightly inflated number to you. But of course, to Devaxian, everything seems tickety-boo at the moment. He wants his return on investment. He wants to break even. Your character thinks 150 is a little high.
And I will kind of, like, obviously look around and, like, use my hands to, like, count all the orcs, adding stuff up after he said that number. I'm obviously doubting his claim. And I'm like, that... I don't know if that adds up exactly. Are you... What's your math there? Let me see how you work that out.
And he's waving a hand at you as your character's mentioning that one. As he just says, my expenses are my expenses. I don't need you auditing me. I have not the time to explain it. To one who chooses the blade. As he looks your character over, clearly making a dig that you're... Well, you fight.
Yes, I fight, and I know how to structure and how to pass out provisions and whatnot. That's what comes with my territory.
Now, if you are looking to convince this guy to change up his pricing, he's pretty firm on how he's set and he's got the arms crossed. You can understand this is how he's made his money. But maybe your skills might be able to make up for that. Perhaps you could be a little diplomatic and convince him of otherwise. Or maybe you could lean in on your intimidation to convince him otherwise. Or maybe by deception, you could explain to him that he is wrong and you are right. Even if you just bold-faced lie, maybe you could quickly get one over on him. Or etc. But somehow someone's going to have to convince this fellow. Because you believe his numbers are wrong. And that's open to anybody on the team if anybody thinks they have an ability roll that they could use to try to convince him.
I mean, I've got the numbers, but I don't want to take the rules from everyone. I feel like Deacon should roll this because he spotted the flaw, or like the lie. Could I use the aid action to give Deacon a bonus to his roll?
Oh yeah.
What skill would you want to use?
I'm going to try and make an argument for society, because I'm trying to argue that adding 2 more mouths to feed will make this a little bit more expensive, and essentially one of which is not going to be a fighter, making even more difficult on their party to get back. And assuming that they're essentially forcing the son to come with them, he's not going to be cooperative, making this an even more extensive and more expensive trip back with the sun in tow.
Now, this is very much a fringe usage of the society check ability. But you know what? I'll let it run for this one because it's enough of a fix. You're using your knowledge of the functioning of society, recalling on that knowledge to see what you can do. Which means I'm running this as a recall knowledge check as your character goes into heavy detail, basically describing it out. And if you can sound enlightened enough with it, perhaps that will work.
If it's a society roll, I will not aid because I will only give him a negative.
Fair enough. Oh, one other thing. How long has it been since the drinking contest?
Oh, how long has it been a game? Probably about half an hour to an hour at the most.
Okay, because if it's been an hour, I can use Nanite Surge again.
Well, let's see how lucky you are. Flip a coin. You get a 1, it's going to be half an hour. You get a 2, you'll get that full hour.
How do I flip a coin again? Roll like
1d2.
slash roll. Okay.
Looks like this. I'm putting it in the chat. Just pull the quotation marks out and it'll pop up a coin flip for you. And if anybody else wants to try to provide aid, you certainly can.
How does aid work in this one again?
Unfortunately, you don't have your nanite surge. With aid, you just help an ally with a task. You must first prepare to help by using an action, the usual sort of stuff. You use a skill check, the same one, with a DC that's typically 20, but it can change based off my discretion for that. If you get a success, +1 to the ally's roll. If you get a critical success, +2. If you get a critical failure, -1. If you fail, nothing happens.
I've got a +0 to society, so that's why I don't think I should roll an aid check. I think it's intelligence based.
Yep.
I'll try aid. I'm at a +11.
Now, if you get a critical success and you're a master or legendary with it, the bonus actually increases to +3 and +4 for those. So, if you're a master with that one?
No, I'm just trained.
Okie dokie. I was about to pull up the sheet and check, but I am slow with these Pathfinder sheets, still learning my way around them. So, if you want to give your roll first to see what's happening for this one. You get a nat 20. Phoenix might even pull out a pair of glasses. God knows where he got them from as he just slides them up his nose. Actually, according to recon facts from the Dragon Institute lines, it has long since been proven that the reduction of mouths in a situation like this is greatly more valuable, and in doing so you would see that there is a financial recoup that can be applied to the entire size of this army. Using group theories and piling, we can see that you have paid way less, and you give that information out at the same time. Enough techno-babble that it blows the other guy's mind. With a critical success, you're giving a +2 bonus now for Jameson. So if you want to roll for Deacon on his society check to convince him that his numbers in math are just wrong, that he's charging too much.
Excellent. And I'm just going to turn on Nanite Surge as to act for the +2 I got from the critical success.
All right. 25 with the +2. And another +2 for Nan. Are you using Nanite Surge?
I think that's already in the number.
Yeah, you said...
No, I mean, just to confirm, because you got a +2. I didn't know if you were putting the Nanite Surge to be the +2 that you got, and then you were doing Nanite Surge. Just making sure.
Oh, you said it hadn't been an hour because I didn't roll correctly. So that +2 is just acting for the +2 I got.
Perfect. That's what I thought. Just making sure. The math checks out. 25 on your check. You see him gritting his teeth as you explain to him, and it takes a good 15 minutes. You feel like you just got him to agree. As he says, all right, 50 gold then.
I'll drop the 50 gold.
Dan's like, I've had a lucky night on money. Here's 50 gold. He picks one up and goes so far as to bite the coin before nodding and putting it on his pouch on his side, adding in, me and mine will have no trouble with you and yours. We won't be stopping what they're trying. You go ahead. And of course,
Much appreciated.
he squints his eyes at you as he nods his head and just adds,
You've got a head for business. If you ever need a different line of work, you come find me.
Will do.
Nice job. Sometimes I wish I read more books. And I start and realise I don't. But cool.
Sometimes I wish I've read less, as he thinks to the book that told him about his little mechanical thing.
Yeah.
signed off by the last person the party was expecting, saying, yeah, no, this is impossible. So if anybody else said it, you might not have believed them.
Alright. Well, I believe that just leaves Omagug. I wonder what his objections are. He seemed to be the kind to leave things up to fate and chance with those dice rolls.
Well, you see him sitting there, doing the most noble of acts for an old guy who's had a few drinks. He's whittling a stick.
We shall approach.
And as you all walk up,
Is there a drink nearby that I can grab for him and unoffer it?
oh, no problem. You can even do that fancy maneuver you see in all the movies where someone's walking by holding drinks. You just spin, grab one, and take it as you go, you know?
Yeah, I'll do that.
No trouble. As the old man sees the group of you walking forward, he stops, he squints his eyes, and gives a smirk as he sees it's you. As he sets down the stick he was whittling, you see he's actually working on arrow shafts, and there's a good pile beside him. He has a natural skill for it, it would seem. Very easy for him to make an amazingly straight shaft for an arrow, with little more than a pocket knife and a stick. Anyone hearing that is probably thinking, perfectly straight. And I'm like, yup, the guy's a pro. He's at the ripe old age, too. Look at that old face on him. He's like 32. Doesn't once again dig at the orcs.
Dean was on mute, but he had a really, really big laugh at that, Alan.
We're gonna love it. He's gonna squint at the team as he adds,
Oh, it's you lot again. Okay, well then. What is it you want this time? I'm not playing another game. That guy's too lucky.
Nestri will just be too distracted by his expert craftsmanship and just like, can I just look at these for a minute? Just
and he'll
pick up
pass
the
you a
arrows.
couple.
Oh my god, do you guys realize how amazing this is? Just is distracted for most of this conversation, probably.
Well, I don't want to waste your time. You look like you've seen enough to not really want to indulge in too much pleasantries. I do wish you well. The wedding, the war chief says that you're not on board. I wondered why.
He gives a slow sigh as he shakes his head.
Well, for the obvious, she's not an orc. I mean, how are we supposed to continue the bloodline if we're having a human come in?
As he looks across, he says,
And I have nothing against humans, don't get me wrong. It's just, there's so few of us now.
Nestri just kind of absently says, well, you're not continuing your bloodline anyway, because the humans are the only ones babies. She just, like, continues looking at the arrows.
he gives you a squint of a glance, that sideways, you know, And then the eyes go wide and he just starts
She
a
doesn't
belly
even
laugh.
she doesn't even notice because she's looking at the arrows. She'll probably look up when he starts laughing.
Oh yeah, deep and heavy. Because at first he's like, "You little so-and-so," but then he's like, "You know what? She's right." Oh. And he gives his head a shake as he acknowledges.
I suppose you make a good point. I don't really have anything that I can say against it, and it doesn't look like things are getting better. Who's this old man to deny a little price of happiness to the world? You go ahead, give them my blessings.
Okay.
Nesri will just be like, "Can I keep this?" With the arrow.
He goes ahead and gives you a small selection of them. Just passing a few over, he says, "Be my guest. Always nice to see
Yeah.
someone who likes the stuff that he's putting together."
Thank you so much, man. This is amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's big of you to admit that. I had a whole spiel about how half-breeds are actually stronger than the originals somehow, because...
Nesri just starts patting his shoulder. It's okay. It's okay.
I know. There's no humans in this group. Well, I guess I'm half human.
He waves a hand slightly in front of his face as he shakes his head at that.
And it's that conceptualization that limits our capacity to think that racial will determine what makes you stronger or weaker is in and of itself an odd thing. Half-blooded, full-blooded, quarter-blooded. I believe the strength and actions through a life will determine who is the most powerful. I mean, look at the four of you. I don't see an orc amongst you.
As he pauses and looks in another tent.
He's over there having a drink, but you know, I don't see an orc amongst you, yet you outclass all of us sitting here. Truly an interesting thought.
He just sighs as he looks towards the stars a bit and gives a frown.
I just hate to think that in another 30 years, there may not be a single orc walking upon this world anymore.
Derek could play a key role in preventing that thing from happening. Where we're traveling, City of Wonders, we might find an answer to it all.
The old man gives a slow chuckle at that and shakes his head.
Ah, yes, the fabled city of Blackrock. None who have ever gone have ever returned. And those who've attempted the journey, from what we know, very few have survived. But without any comeback story, well, it is safe to assume it is a dying man's walk. But you do yours.
And as he gives a slow nod. As you're chasing after fables and stories now. But on the plus side, you've now got approval from all three for a wedding. And, as Nestri is looking over those arrows, you can't help but notice one of them has a slightly different appearance to it.
I'll ask him about it. I don't think I should take this one. I'll give it to him.
He waves a hand at that one and pushes it back, mentioning it was just one he picked up and refashioned. Little more than one that was repaired, reclaimed, as they often do.
I'll take another peek at it. See if I can figure out if it's magical or not. I think I have detect magic.
I
Yes, I
think
do.
you can just use Arcana checks in this. There's like
Yeah.
an identify item skill.
I mean, I could do both. I have detect magic, but I also have arcane trained, so.
As you're looking it over, you probably wouldn't need much to guess, as this one bolt is dark blue in color and very cold to the touch.
Interesting.
What
So-
you found, because, well, I'm giving out the info for what you're finding since you'll have the time to examine these things. Just one of them is a freezing arrow, a piece of freezing ammunition. This chilly,
Sweet.
dark blue, cold to the touch, and when activated, If freezing ammunition hits a target, it must succeed at a DC 19 fort save or be slowed for 1 round by the intense cold. For 1 minute on a crit fail.
It's amazing.
Just a freebie add-on for 1 shot, essentially.
She'll hop a few steps back and slap a hand on his shoulder and be like, "Thank you so much, man. This is awesome." Just for make sure that I have enough. How many regular arrows would I have gotten? Like 3 or 4, maybe?
You know what? He'll give you a bundle. Take 25.
Oh, seriously?
He
Oh,
makes
wow.
arrows for a lot of these archers, and he's very quick at them. As you've noticed, he's already made another 5 while you're all sitting here.
Oh, wow.
Dan's probably thinking, what is his workcraft level at? God damn, we got to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Pal world. God. But yeah, he's already dropped another 5 arrows that he's constructed, and he's given you these. Beautifully crafted. They don't provide you anything bonus, but gosh, they're nice arrows. It's like giving me a set of Big Bertha golf clubs. They look so pretty, but they're not going to improve my game much.
I throw a pal sphere at him. We're
Yeah.
going to have him craft for us.
He deflects it. It looks like you need one of a higher level.
Then I'll pull that out and throw it at him. Wait, I will get my baseball bat and beat him down first, because that's how that works.
Oh, goodness. You know you got a shotgun
is
code
it-
in that game.
Yeah, I know I'm using it.
It's so nice. But so he's given some stuff out, and a fun piece of arrow that everybody can make use of, but technically it's in Nestry's possession. As he gives a nod and mentions it's a blue arrow. Couldn't help but notice about the story you mentioned about that blue dragonborn. Or half-dragon, or whatever she might have been. As he's not too sure himself either. And it's a blue arrow. Maybe it's a sign.
That's cool.
Meanwhile, if we had a wise-ass character, he'd be like, of course it's a sign. They hold the arrow. See, now it's pointing up. Up. That's the sign.
Sign of the times.
Oh, goodness. Well, with that, the only thing left to do is go and let the war chief know that the wedding's on.
Oh. Shall we? I'd like to be able to convince people with words rather than fists.
Well, the other nifty thing about this, as you approach the war chief, he's more than happy. You give him the good news. He laughs, clasping you all on the shoulder and giving his son a firm hug a moment later. You might hear cracking as he does so. Man's a brute after all. Congratulating him and calling out for the bride, who you see has been off in another tent most of the time. After all, he was planning a wedding. He's already had someone working on hair, dress, makeup, shoes, etc., 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 etc. You know what I mean? His son looking slightly awestruck for a brief moment as the father looks at him and just says, "Oh, you're gonna need a suit too, boy. Get going." And, as unbelievable as it might seem, they didn't have anything else up their sleeves. No tricks. He didn't suddenly pull out a dozen wives and say, "Ha ha ha, my evil plan continues." No, nothing like that. But, because I doubt everybody wants to sit through a wedding in-game, I'm going to use the power of thematic storytelling to push forward a little bit, if everyone's okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah?
Because you know it's a great time. They get him dollied up. He comes out in a pure white suit. As they say, it was the only thing they could find, provided by the town that you had, well, saved as much as you could. And what ends up happening, even though the rain continues to fall, is a rather beautiful ceremony among the orcs. The father walking his son down towards it, being joined by that same old man that you met earlier on, and a wonderful ceremony, great words to be said, and you can sense a certain degree of happiness coming up among all those who were happily standing there. The people from the town, the orcs you had picked up, and the stragglers along the way, along with the originals. For once, for one night, everyone seems to forget themselves, and everyone has themselves a wonderful, wonderful party. Now it's up to yourselves what sort of situation, what sort of boat your characters are going to be in as we get to the wee hours of the morning, as things are petering out, as wonderful things would have also happened, of course. The sun would have wrapped arms around the team and asked all of you to be in the wedding party. Those of you who participated would have found yourselves standing right up front, celebrating full on, as they couldn't thank you enough for the difference you've made. And by the time 3 a.m. rolls around, most of the orcs are stumbling away from each other, all fairly tanked. Let's be honest, it was a wedding. Even the villagers got in on this heavily, and everyone had a wonderful moment of celebration. Though, during the dinner, of course, at the end, major thanks was given to the team of you as they acknowledged this day wouldn't have come without your assistance, which might have led to some begrudging from the orcs, but you know, they lost fair and square. Now, as it's about 3 in the morning, it's up to you what state your characters are in, but I'm going to need perception checks from all of you.
Nest, you probably found, like, a soft spot and just... Where?
You
Sorry,
kinda
she just
cut
what
out
somewhere?
there.
Curled up somewhere?
Yeah, like, just found a soft spot somewhere in the grass and curls up, is probably dozing off.
You're going to have the rough time because unfortunately that same orc battler found you again. And they've been sitting down and just telling you story after story about all these amazing things trying to impress you, but your character is like half in and half out of it, I'm imagining at that point.
Yeah, real slow blinks.
Yep. Which works for that 12, my goodness. Unless you want to hero point it, of course.
No. I don't
Alright.
think Nest... It doesn't make sense to me, because I wouldn't think that we'd be in danger.
It's a good mix. Deacon as well, probably chilling. I'm guessing you might have finally got a little drink on that finally hit you.
Yeah, most likely.
Even Phoenix at a 14. What were you, Dan? Had your character right up front in the wedding party? They were like, we need a ring bearer, and Phoenix is like, I got this, hang on, let me show you some magic. And I will say, the fact that I haven't give too many details on the wedding itself, feel free to embellish that on memories later. Maybe you tapped into some of your character's powers and features to show off with fireworks. However you want. I leave this one a little bit empty because it's a rare moment of downtime and celebration when your characters don't have to think. But Dean, what's the vaccine up to? Because you got a 23.
I think that in true to vaccine style, he has managed to like gather like a small crowd to like tell stories and jokes to and kind of ramble a bit, just playing on his charisma. So like he's kind of looking around every so often to make sure that he's not losing anyone. So he's casting an eye out because he quite likes having people pay attention to him, and that's probably why his perception is a bit higher than most people's. Cause he's like, gotta work the crowd. Who's it? Where are they going? Are they going to the bathroom? They're on their way back. They're just grabbing some drinks, that kind of thing.
And people are laughing and having a good time. Some of the townspeople even reinforcing moments of stories that you tell. They're like, yeah, I was there. It was horrible. I pooped myself. I wasn't even wearing the brown pants that day. And one of the orcs is like, you poor man. We always wear brown. He's like, always? Don't fret. Even we feel fear. So they take in your story. But there's something that catches your ear as a couple of orcs walk past. You hear them over talking to each other. Oh, yeah. Geez, that fortune teller out back. They said I'm gonna be rich. They said I'm gonna be pretty. And as you look at the second one, you think for yourself, yeah, no, you shave, you'll be gorgeous. But then, a fortune teller? Looks like the orcs might have someone fun on their side to go see in the wee hours of the morning, as the moon shines overhead, and a rare break in the storm takes the rain away.
Probably depending on how you look at it, the best or worst party member to hear about a fortune teller. The thaumaturge. He's just like, oh, everyone will want to know about this. he'll go. He'll find a natural break in the conversation he's been holding, and he'll go like, guys. There's a fortune teller. I reckon we all could get our fortunes told. Nestry, wake up!
You see her make the face exactly like Lemmy.
Fortune teller. Fortune teller.
Why?
I don't know why she tells fortunes, but I bet she'll tell us.
She'll drag herself over with minimal interest.
He'll do the rounds.
This fortune teller is in her own tent. As soon as my ping seems... Oh, I'm not on the right setting. Right over here.
Fortune teller, you mean you found a divination wizard?
So where was your ping, Alan? Yeah, well, I mean, is that the technical term for it? I mean, can you do this, Phoenix? Can you tell fortunes?
Not right now.
Because people will pay to have their fortunes told. I'm sure of it. Because they have a side hustle. Just one thing I guess I should mention is that if they ask you for blood, that's a warning sign. Because my cult used to do that, and I don't think that Gary could tell fortunes. For one, who's heard of a fortune teller called Gary? Doesn't make any sense.
Gary the fortune teller. Well, I say it was
Get
a woman,
this.
it's a man. His name is Gary.
This. My God, the rumours were true. And I imagine I'm unable to wake Ulag up.
He is so out of it.
Yeah. Alright.
So who's all on their way to see the fortune teller?
Deacon definitely is.
It's like, I need to know my future. I need to know what's going on.
I'll go and look just in case it is a divination wizard. Then I can find out how they have magic still. And then maybe get a spellbook.
Oh, goodness, yes, I have to give you a spell book. I need to give some of those out to you. You're definitely going to have to start finding those as items for you and Nestry, because that's the way that works. It's an easy thing to slip on, though. But I've been pretty decent about it, so... And... Nestry... Jillian, Nestry heading over, or she's still out of it?
Oh yeah, no, I said earlier that Nestor over after Devaxian woke her up.
I'll be honest, I kind of thought so, but I was like, I gotta double check because my memory is bad.
No, it's okay.
So, as the group of you make it over there, you see the tent flap flies open as one orc steps out. They have a very angry, sad, crying look on their face, cursing as they do towards the woman before running. As you hear an old, decrepit voice crying out from inside, but a moment later. As it says,
Well, I told you, dearie, we don't always get a happy ending in life. Sometimes we get kicked in the teeth now, don't we?
as you see the decrepit face of a hard-looking woman, very old, extending out a smile, but a moment later towards the team, blinking with happy eyes and extending a hand inside of her tent.
Says, "Oh, hello, dearies. Why don't you all come directly inside? It's always good to get more customers."
The inside of this tent, just as you would imagine, doodads and baubles aplenty hanging from the ceiling, along with less than kind ingredients, and a large pot in the middle of the room, upon which a table is presently on top of, along with a crystal ball and a purple cloth hanging on top. Though the table bubbles, leaving smog and smoke to pour down a slim film across the floor. As she extends a hand out, this one goes to Deacon, the unlucky one, as she says,
"Margaret, very nice to meet you, dearie."
Pleasure to meet you, as Deacon takes her hand and firmly shakes it.
You can hear the bones cracking and the skin warping and twisting under your hand, but she seems unfazed and just,
"Come in, dearies. It's not often I get ones quite so interesting at my door."
Now, mind you, actually entering that tent, not so much because I have a lot of light things on there, but I'm going to quickly make a modification so you'll be able to go through. Quickly in caps, mind you. There we are. You should have freedom of movement on that area. Yep, she can move around. But she extends a hand out as she smiles at the group.
Hello.
And her tent's a little bit crowded as you all squeeze your way in there. But there's enough seats for everybody around that horrible crystal ball as she moves and takes a seat herself, adding,
"Please, take a seat, dearies. It's not every day, as I say. One such as yourself, so unique, enter through my domicile. I can feel the very pain lingering on each of you at any given moment, so I can only imagine what your futures will hold. Tell me,"
as she looks across the four of you slowly, smile spreading on that Cheshire cat-like grin of hers,
"who here would like to know what tomorrow holds?"
The vaccine raises his hand.
and she'll give a slow chuckle as she extends it out.
"Wonderful. Let me see, then, what you hold. Your hand."
Here you go. Is that a real crystal ball?
Her fingers wrap around it very slowly as she yanks your arm forward. If you're wearing any glove... Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Nestor just says sleepily when Vaxian mentions the crystal. Those are major.
Major fire hazard, I'm guessing?
Yeah, sorry, did it cut out again?
Right at
Yeah.
major. But I think it knew the reference. She'll give a cackling laugh as she looks towards Nestri, and she'd be yanking any gloves that Devaxian's wearing off as well, as she nods and says,
"Indeed, an actual crystal ball. Focus the light through it, shine it, and burn anything in its way, as is its very nature, dearie. Quite wonderful on its destruction, but no, that is no crystal ball. What that is..."
She drags one finger across the top, a screeching hollowing out from it as it shimmers ever so lightly, and then she smiles yet again.
"That is a sphere, dearies, that holds inside of it the soul of a crystalline dragon. Considerably better for telling the future."
As she indicates,
Think-
that's an orb of dragon kind under her finger.
I didn't think a dragon soul would fit in there. Seems like they'd be much bigger.
You would be amazed to see what the pain, anger, and hatred can do when combined into a single. But this one,
She passed the top of it a few times. It even makes the sound boom, 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 like an old television almost.
this one and I, we are good friends now.
Though, she's gonna wrap a hand around Devaxian's as she pulls forward and squints, drawing those crooked fingers of her across your palm as she gives a slight tisk-tisk sound, shaking her head.
Oh, my word, dearie. You're not even home anymore. Now, how is that fair? Asking me to see the future of yours when this isn't even your world to begin with. Ah, well, I suppose I should not complain.
She looks up and gives a wink.
We're not all home, after all, now are we? But, oh, I see great struggles and great pain in your future. But one thing stands out here, a singular moment. I see you, either standing on top or inside the great Netherese city. One powerful one, though that future is a hard one to see. But in the city of Arcadia, you will determine the future of this world, either for the better or for the worse. As you must face the Queen of Monsters.
She pats your hand softly and gives a sigh and says,
Ah, such wonderful pain in either direction.
and then looks towards
Monster.
the rest.
Monsters have a queen?
She looks towards you, gives a shrug of her shoulders, and says,
Damned if I know, dearie, but that's what your future says to me.
Amazing. Well, I'll need to get a bigger notebook.
as she smiles, looking across the group.
Would anyone else like their futures read?
Esther will yawn and just be like, oh, I didn't do it the last time, so I'm give her my hand.
Last time?
She squints her eyes a bit as she catches your hand, pulls forward and immediately stares at your palm and looks up, muttering,
And you as well, not from this world. Perhaps I am underestimating your capacity, but oh, I see here a decision, dearie. Weighing two worlds in the balance for the price of one.
She pulls you a little closer as she says,
Be warned, this decision you make amongst a great and powerful tree will scope the future. Choose wrong, and I see a dark force that you will have to face someday, dearie, and I don't believe anyone in any world would be able to stop it.
Just to clarify, she said I have to make a big decision inside of a tree?
At a great tree, you will make a
At a
great
great-
decision that will determine
Okay.
the fate of two worlds. Choose
Okay.
wrong, and you will see the greatest darkness unleashed beyond
Great.
anything she's ever known. She brings her fingers up and drums them on her chin slightly with a smile and says,
Now, dearie, I should warn you, as much as I would love the torment of such a thing, I would beseech you not to seek after it. After all, I only just found this new home after my previous one completely obliterated, and I couldn't even come here in my regular...
She looks at her hands, then pauses and smiles.
shoes. I would not want to seek another home. I do not know how many are left in the world.
She then looks between the two remaining party members, extending a come hither finger, making it look ever so frightening against the night light with those talons of tips.
Well, which of you would like to be next? Either or none?
Deacon tentatively puts his hand out, scared of what might be to come, but he's just like, I have to know.
She wraps a hand around your wrist, pulls it forward, nods, looks down at your palm and squints a few times and starts tracing some of those circuitry lines that make up, I think they're circuitry lines they call them or something, but you know what I mean. She traces the very lines that defines your nanite texture and nature as she examines them and then makes a slow chuckle, saying,
Oh, dearie, and not often I see those who were not born, but yet fashioned into birth. Very interesting, but from what I see, your lifeline is so very short. The way the things are going as they stand now.
She pats your hand gently and leans forward and whispers,
You've got about a year and a half left before you die.
then
That's grim.
she pats your hand gently and says,
My condolences, dearie. Make the best of your time, would you?
Yep, and Deacon gets up, walks out of the tent, and goes to start drinking.
As the Dungeon Master throws another wrench at the Deacon question.
That we need to make sure that he doesn't have any fun at all, because time flies when you're having fun. So
Oh, goodness.
we should make him miserable.
Oh, man. Oh, yes, please do make him more miserable.
Oh, goodness.
I'll see if I can find. Sorry.
I swear I have a plan. It's not just me being extra mean and cruel. No.
Find him a booking tax returns.
Oh, God.
You missed your last 3 years of taxes, dearie, I'm seeing on your palm. You need to file those. You know, the only two things in this world that are guaranteed are death and taxes.
Eyes, however, are now settling on Phoenix. The remaining party member, she slowly smiles towards you.
He'll extend a hand, but he does, as he does, he'll say, all right, Maggie, time for round two.
She squints her eyes a bit at you, takes your palm as she pulls it forward and says,
Another one. 3 of you, not of this place. Well, dearies, be very careful with how you should use that. Dualities of future are a strange thing. Now, let me see here.
as she looks at your character closely, looking at their palm as she looks up, squints her eyes very slowly as you see what looks like a hint of realization, and she murmurs,
It's always so hard to look through fur when you're trying to see someone's palm, isn't it not, my friend?
now for
Would it be?
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, would it be easier? I would ask, would it be easier if I changed form?
She waves a hand in the air and says,
No, dearie. These own eyes of mine seem a bit better than you might be assuming. Though I will admit, it is quite the attractive magics that you have at your disposal. I would like to see what others you have sometime, but I fear such pleasantries might not be something I might take advantage of. Now, let me see what holds in your future.
and as she slowly drifts a finger over your palm, squinting as she does, before she looks up with a grin.
I see a throne in your future, empty and standing before you. A decision must be made, as the destiny of two races will hand in the balance for who will sit upon it. You, my friend, may yet have the opportunity to become a king.
She's going to give a slow smile at that one.
And say, now I do realize the idea of royalty might be enough to hit your voice in your throat, dearie, but haha, I am excited that I have managed to surprise you.
And she'll mock bow a little,
Your Majesty.
before leaning back.
Wizard King. Oh, that's cool.
Meanwhile, I'm feeling bad for Jameson out of character. He's like, my character gets told I got 2 years to live. Dan's being told you're gonna be king. What the hell is this shit?
I am just really in character, just experiencing the pain while Deacon is currently drowning his sorrows in as much alcohol as he can get his hands on.
Well,
And probably speeding up the clock somehow.
It's like, damn my android physiology, it's not actually deteriorating from the drinking. Well then, as you're all chilling at this point, any other questions for the fortune teller who dares to give you such bold future views?
How is it? Is this magic? How are you able to retain your magic where others can't?
Magic? Oh, dearie, no. This world is absolutely positively devoid of the stuff, and I find that quite distasteful. But, I digress. No. Magic, dearies. That's not what I possess. I possess vision. It is but natural that I can peek beyond what others can see. I'm sure you understand.
She nods her head once.
Your fortunes, they seem quite like they're quite far ahead in a distance. I suppose you know what's going to happen short term.
A very slow smile drifts across her face, and she'd lean forward on her elbows, drawing dangerously close, her nose pretty much drifting in front of your own face. You get a little too uncomfortably close as she has that look of viciousness upon her. Teeth broad set as she adds,
Sure, dearie. That's a simple one. There will be a soldier who will require your assistance in the near future. It is up to you whether or not you should help her, but I would recommend it. Beyond that, well, if you're all traveling to Blackrock, I'll leave that lovely surprise up to the lot of you, but you shan't be disappointed. Oh no, someone is waiting for you there, and they have been near 40 years now. So tell me, dearie, is that enough of a blink of tomorrow for you?
It's wonderfully exciting.
and she'll give a slow cackle at that as she drums her fingers together, saying, "Oh,
Wonderful. Excellent, dearies. And I have to say, this degree of pain and torment that you all seem to be excluding now,
except she glares at Nestry for a moment and then looks back at the rest of the group.
I have to say that is more than enough payment for this small glimpse into tomorrow.
Nestry will just kind of like nudge Phoenix on the shoulder and be like, "Oh, it is Maggie."
You know, I really would have liked to get another one of her madcaps as a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Wonder if I've not, you know, I don't think I've looked up at the stat block for madcaps in this game yet. I wonder on a scale of fine to terrifying, what they're like. I mean, I feel great, especially in comparison to the knowledge I have of other worlds. Is anyone else feeling down or in pain? Is it just me? I'm strangely optimistic.
I'm feeling good. It'd be nice to see Dusty again. I imagine that's who's waiting for us.
Margaret, did you not say she? The soldier's been waiting for us for a long time. She will need our help.
Oh, did she? Sorry, I missed that.
She did.
No.
So there's a completely
I
different
thought
character.
No, if memory is certainly correct, it is a female is waiting for us, is not waiting for us, but will request our help. We should help them, but someone is waiting and has been waiting for 40 years at Blackrock for us.
Yep. Two distinct and different people. Maggie's giving you a little bit of a bonus. Though, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to cut the session because my kiddo needs some help. So, what note I will leave on as you're all leaving for the night and before you get to start on your journey tomorrow, where You can expect a fight really, really, really early. I'll give you that much, because I know you want to break in those characters with some combat, because it's been like 2 or 3 sessions. We went through a bunch of combat, then a bit of roleplay, and some build-up, and some more stats, but as you're all leaving her tent, she's going to give a smile and a wave and say, "Oh, dearies, by the way, make sure to be very cautious. The future that lays out before you. I see 2 distinct paths. In one of them, great heroes saving a world and bringing back all that is lost in a heroic fashion, while in the other, an evil beyond compare that threatens to crush everything. Your decisions, dearie, will determine the outcome. Ta-ra!" She gives a wave of her fingers.
Hi, Maggie. It was nice to hear your voice again.
And she'll give a laugh at that and say, "Goodbye, dearies. I'm sure we've never met, though the resemblance is uncanny."
Vaccine will just give her a big wink.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, she blows her a kiss.
As the team walks away slowly, and Ulag
We should
rushes in.
play golf again.
Oh, goodness, golf. If only she had her magics at her disposal. Well, so as mentioned,